I believe that this country is on a path that will destroy our democracy. And I'm hoping that everybody gets involved. What do I mean? Sit by and watch this episode of Guns and Gadgets to learn more. Hey everybody, welcome back to Guns and Gadgets, your premier source for Second Amendment news. First off, with the rapidly increasing violence in this country for many reasons, social justice just one of them, I strongly suggest that you join the USCCA. The USCCA, in addition to providing awesome education and training, there's a lot of information in there for new and old shooters alike, but they get you prepared for what happens before, during, and after an act of legal self-defense. And by joining the USCCA, you also get self-defense liability insurance. And I think that at a time like this, it is extremely important to have a group that is ready to have your back, God forbid. So uscca.com/GNG, join now. Click the link down below. If you don't want to join, you don't have to, but check it out nonetheless. And also, it is a 100% money-back guarantee if you join and you're not happy. uscca.com/GNG. Now let's get into what has me troubled, what should have every red-blooded American, no matter what side of the aisle you sit on. If you're a Democrat or a Republican, you should be on fire right now. And I hope to quickly surmise it for you so you realize what's at stake right now. I'll also tell you about how 20 attorneys general have stood up and they're fighting back for the Constitution related to packing the court. So I'll get into that as well. First off, there are some different parts of the Constitution, and if you don't know the Constitution, I suggest you get one of these. You can get a pocket guide. It'll take you, I don't know, 40 minutes to read it and know what the rules, the regulations, the policies, and the procedures of the United States of America. It's all in there, and every American should have one of these, should know it. The problem is far too many don't, which allows Biden and his people and government in totality to do what they're doing right now. So there are a few articles in the Constitution that delineate powers and tell different branches what their powers are, and they're under attack right now. And unless you have your eyes wide open, you might miss it. Article 1 has to do with elections, among other things, but elections. And we're at a point in time where H.R. 1 made it through the House of Representatives down party lines, and it looks to among other things, federalize elections, to take out the ability for a state to control its own election process, like the Constitution says. What does that mean? Well, we know there were problems with the perceived problems already. Well, H.R. 1 would federalize that, which would mean if somebody wanted to cause problems, there's only one system, whereas there are 50 individual systems the other way. So if they federalize the election, it takes that process away from the states, and thus there could be issues with it. I gotta say certain things certain ways here, because I don't want this channel, this video, to be deleted, redacted, to have a 21 or over censorship on it. I think this needs to get out. So, you know what I mean. Article 2 is the presidential powers, and the separation of those powers, the three branches, is at risk because we have a president, Bobo Biden, who is working as fast can be to cloud the separation and even delete that separation with the myriad of executive orders and executive actions that he is signing at will. The guy doesn't even know what he's doing. They're sliding in front of him, and he's even said, I don't know what I'm signing here. Yeah, you know what? Just sign it. And just at that fast, they're clouding the separation of powers, and they're deleting it. Why? So that it's a more communist type of government, more centralized power, where there's no checks and no balances. Article 3 has to do with the powers of the judiciary. Bobo Biden has started a panel to look into packing the court and adding 4 more justices. Why? Because they don't have, the liberal progressives do not believe that there is a liberal or progressive majority on the U.S. Supreme Court. So If you can't deal with that, then you got to change the rule. So we're going to add 4 more look into adding 4 more liberal justices so that we can have all of the court decisions go our way as well. And a mere 6 days after he announces this formation of this panel, then we have a bill submitted, the Judiciary Act of 2021, to add 4 liberal justices to the Supreme Court. Guys and gals, if you can't see the smoke, let me tell you, it's smoky out here. There is fire. This is the blueprint that has destroyed all other democracies that have come before us. Our democracy, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, whether you are a Green Party, Pink Party, or unicorns and rainbows, the future of America as we know it, the constitutional republic, is just about dead as it is, but the future of the democracy side of America is at risk. And it's time that everybody starts to get a little active here. And what's going on as far as fighting back? I told you I would tell you about these attorneys general. Well, I'm going to put here on screen, this is a letter that has been sent to the president, as well as to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell. And this was penned by the Attorney General of Florida, Ashley Moody, and 19 additional attorneys general. I'm going to read it here. It's a quick letter, and I think it's pretty pointed. Dear Mr. President and congressional leaders, as the chief legal officers of our states, we write to you regarding our serious concerns about recent reports indicating this Congress's intent to pack the Supreme Court by passing H.R. 2584. Indeed, given the filing of the bill 6 days after the President announced his executive order regarding the Supreme Court, it is clear that the Commission on the Supreme Court is nothing but a coordinated attempt to justify a naked political power grab by the leaders of Congress and the President. We believe that such actions will seriously undermine our constitutional system, the public's confidence in our courts, and the rule of law. We oppose passage of such a measure. Alexander Hamilton commented in the Federalist Papers that the complete independence of the courts of justice is peculiarly essential in a limited constitution. The Federalist Papers, number 78. He reasoned that judicial independence was essential because without this, all the reservations of particular rights or privileges would amount to nothing. And he added that more than rights and privileges would be threatened if judicial independence did not exist in the newly created republic, but that there would be no liberty if the power of judging not be separated from the legislative and executive powers. He feared the encroachments and oppressions of the representative body and the effects of those ill humors which the arts of designing men sometimes disseminate among the people themselves, and which occasion serious oppressions of the minor party in the community. The framers created a strict separation of the judicial power from the other branches of government because the colonists had been subjected to judicial abuses by the crown. King George III made judges dependent on his will alone. The Declaration of Independence, paragraph 11. And if you don't know these documents, guys and gals, start reading for the sake of the country. The judicial branch and the judicial power created by Article 3 was to prevent the new federal government from repeating those abuses by appointing judges for life with good behavior and restricting the ability for the other branches to remove them or diminish their salaries. The framers sought to ensure that each judicial decision would be rendered independently and not to curry favor with Congress or the President. From the beginning of our republic until the present, there has been a robust history of judicial independence. Our system of checks and balances is not easy. Politics and the desire to accomplish strongly held objectives by the party in power has always led to tension between the Supreme Court and the other branches. As William Howard Taft, then Chief Justice and once a president, said, "The court's duty to ignore the acts of Congress or of the state legislatures, if out of line with the fundamental law of the nation, inevitably throws it as an obstruction across the path of the then majority who have enacted the invalid legislation. The stronger the majority and the more intense its partisan feeling, the less likely is it to regard constitutional limitations upon its power, and the more likely it is to enact laws of questionable validity. And that is where we are right now. It is convincing evidence of the sound sense of the American people in the long run of their love of civil liberty and its constitutional guarantees that, in spite of hostility thus frequently engendered, the court has lived with its powers unimpaired until the present day. And there's the citation. Except for one failed attempt, Presidents and Congress have respected the independence of the judiciary and the Supreme Court as the bulwark protecting Americans' liberty. When President Franklin Delano Roosevelt attempted to pack the court, the Senate recognized the importance of an independent judiciary and the harm that such an action would cause. The Senate Judiciary Committee stated in its adverse report that it is essential to the continuance of our constitutional democracy that the judiciary be completely independent of both the executive and legislative branches of the government. And we assert that independent courts are the last safeguard of the citizen, where his rights, reserved to him by the express and implied provisions of the Constitution, come in conflict with the powers of governmental agencies. If interference with the judgment of an independent judiciary is to be countenanced of any degree, then it is permitted and sanctioned in all degrees. There is no constituted power to say where the degree ends or begins, and the political administration of the hour may apply the essential concepts of justice by equipping the courts with one strain of new blood, while the political administration of another day may use a different light and a different blood test. Thus would influence run riot. Thus perpetuity, independence, and stability belong to the judicial arm of the government and relied on by lawyers and laity are lost. Thus is confidence extinguished. And bringing it home, if the views of our framers and forefathers do not dissuade you from the harm that your undertaking will cause, you have undoubtedly heard the recent words of Justices Ginsburg and Breyer, who both unequivocally condemned schemes to pack the court. We have, from time to time, wholeheartedly disagreed with many of Justice Ginsburg and Justice Breyer's opinions, as well as their approach to the law. But we accept that their approaches reflect only an honest disagreement in legal philosophy, not political will, and we have never suggested that Congress should use its political prowess to intimidate them into reaching one outcome or another. Their view, like that set out in the historical sources quoted above, that a court-packing endeavor will undermine the court, its stability, and its legitimacy, should be persuasive to you. We understand that some members of Congress are upset regarding what they view as the politicization of the Supreme Court. Ironically, many of those same members, including two of the addressees of this letter, led partisan attacks during the confirmation hearings of Judge Bork, Justice Thomas, and Justice Kavanaugh, among many others. Each of those fights and changes has weakened the independence of the judiciary and put at risk all Americans' liberty. The justices of the Supreme Court have repeatedly shown their independence, despite their differences and the labels some have put on them. When elected officials do not like the outcome in a case, that is not a sign of the politicization of the court, but of the system working. After all, the whims of elected officials are the very thing against which the court is there to protect the people. Sincerely, Ashley Moody, the Attorney General of Florida, and joining her, Steve Marshall, the AG of Alabama, AG for Arkansas, AG for Georgia, and Idaho, and Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, Utah, and West Virginia. Guys and gals, this is serious stuff. If you're not concerned, you should be. I am very concerned as a father for how this country will be when my kids grow up. And it is our job to make sure that America remains free for the next generation. And if you're not burning up the phones and letting your congressional boobs know not to support H.R. 2584, then you need to start doing it now. This bill, in addition to the other instances I've told you about with H.R. 1 and Biden's executive order spree, will destroy what we know as America, which will cause other things to happen. So again, not a Second Amendment type video, but guys and gals, if the Constitution falls, if freedom falls, if our individual liberties fall, the Second Amendment is part of that too. So please pass this along. Let me know what you think down below. Am I crazy? Have I lost my mind? Or do you see the smoke as well? Know your neighbors. Know your friends. Know the layout of your land. And until we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, carry a weapon. Please like, share, and subscribe to Guns and Gadgets. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.